welcome back to Trash It. It's cold black in London today, but I'm not talking about bomb or people dying. Celia, myself, and Chinelo, not coordinated, but zoomed in black. And we've got our host and gentleman of the hour, Jude. Hi, everyone.
Hi, hello.
Hiya. All right, I'm going to go straight to it. Today, we're going to be talking about something not too heavy, but people really want to have an opinion of the panel. The question of the day is, should a woman, when she marries, take on a last name? Is it mandatory in the era that we have now that everyone is sort of craving the identity? And do they lose the identity when they take on their supposed other half or husband's last name? So I'll be going to Jude first, because I know you are married. What's your take on this? Because traditionally, before I let you talk, when people marry, it is sort of expected that you take on your husband's last name, not hyphenated, but you sort of drop your persona, your profile that you've had all your life, and you cling on to someone else. As it says in the Bible, when you leave your father and your mother, you become one. So I'm going to go to you, Jude. What's your take on this?
Before I just start talking off, you just mentioned the Bible. And in the Bible, if we should go by that, it said, therefore, a man, if I'm correct or if I'm not correct, just let me know. A man would leave his parents and then be joined to his wife. So if that's the case,
onto his wife.
Well, if that's the case, the man should be taking the wife's name, the wife's last name, if we follow that.
I can see Celia shaking her
I
head.
don't think...
Hold on, Celia, let him land.
The man is leaving his family to the wife, so he should be taking the name. But that's not the question of the day. For me, I've never had any issue with it, but as you rightly said, I'm married, and my wife still bears her own name. And there's some practical reasons for that. The main reason was we were just too lazy to do anything about it. We didn't want to change it because it was just too much hassle. It will mean she will have to file documents to our own government, file documents in England, and the administrative process. And there was money involved, not too much. But I thought, what's the fuss about? That's your name. This is my name. And we've had the discussion before because we've been courting for a while before we married. And she's the only child of her parents.
Okay.
She wanted to keep that family name on. If she had just got up and took my name, that's her own family name gone forever. So I saw all of that, and I've never, like I said earlier, I've never had an opinion about this. I'm kind of liberal when it comes to this. So two issues just outweighed everything. I said, yeah, that's cool, and we'll let it be.
Not an issue for you. So I'm gonna go to Celia before I go to Chinelo. You were literally gonna fly in.
Sorry. No, it was when Jude was reading from that part of the Bible, and I mean, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I'd like to think that that's not what the Bible meant when he said, when they wrote that. They didn't say that. It didn't mean that the man had to take the woman's last name. However, I am a strong believer in marriage, okay? And I just feel marriage is is two different units coming together as one, okay? I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody thinks. But I believe that when a woman gets married to a man, right, you're coming together as one, as a unit, as a whole, yeah? So the best thing for you to do when you come into that marriage, you're leaving everything that, I don't know how to put it in the same, you're not losing your identity, but at the same time, you know you're married to this man now. And one of those things you have to do when you're married is to take the husband's name. I don't think it's a big issue, okay? Jude, you're saying it was a lot of paperwork and all of that. I got married. I changed my surname. I changed my surname in some of my certificates. I had to, okay? In my passport, I had to change my surname, my bank card, my home address, everything. I had to change my name. And then I had to do it by deed poll as well. Okay, so I just feel when you're in a marriage, when you leave your parents to come to join a man, just join the man. There's no need, doing it haphazardly, okay? And Yori, you mentioned something about no hyphenation. Now, okay, that's strong, okay? It is strong. There's no hyphenation, so which means you're completely losing your own last name. I tried to do that when I got married. I had a conversation with my husband and I said, is it okay for me to have my own last name and then your name is, hyphenated? And he said, yes. However, after the marriage, he changed his mind, and I said, no. Do you know what? Pick your battles. It's not everything you fight over. It's not everything you argue over. So for me, it wasn't worth the hassle, and I left.
I'm gonna go to Chinelo because I can see you're like, well, I don't agree with this. So what's your take on that?
Well, for me, I don't really agree so much with Celia in the sense that if you say that when a woman goes into a marriage, you have to go in with everything and it's, you're joining together as one. If you're actually joining together as one in that sense, I would believe that you can take on a neutral surname, agree on a neutral surname that the two of you will take on as one. That doesn't mean you have to take on the man's surname to make you one. No. So for me, I do not believe, or in the current age that we're in now, I do not believe that it is really necessary for a woman to take on the husband's surname after marriage. And my reason being that most marriages these days end in divorce. So if you look at it from that aspect, and at the end of the day, most women, when they marry very young, you've not really achieved much. So you're going to be achieving most of the achievements you're going to make will be in the marriage, and that will be in the man's name. So what happens when you now get divorced at the end of the day? Marriage is always sweet at the beginning. It's sweet for almost everybody. You're going in, you're happy, you're in love, you're doing all these things at that moment, you're happy. But then usually a couple they don't think of what happens when there's a divorce, because nobody goes into a marriage thinking about divorce. But it's inevitable in most marriages, as we know. It happens. And when it happens, and this woman is only known by the husband's surname. So what happens when there is a divorce? Then it becomes, how difficult it is. Going through the divorce process is always very horrible. It's always a very terrible time. There are fights. You wouldn't even believe that this couple ever loved each other. They begin to drag a lot of things. I know that, in the past, that marriage has always been about, a woman getting married to a man, you move on, you live with the man, you take on the surname because you are almost like a property to the man when you get married. So now at the end of the day, you become one of his properties. And then when he dies, you can inherit the property. And also, I believe that people think that, when a woman doesn't take on the husband's surname, that means there is no unity in that marriage. And then when you have children, the children will start bearing a different name from you. And it's not.
So let me just stop you there. You're of the view that a woman, like you said, and I'm just quoting you, goes through the motion of going to school, takes their husband's last name, and all their certificate has got their husband's last name as to the one that they were actually, Wow. So it's a no-no for you. You are not of the opinion that women really should change their last name.
Well, from my experiences now, from what I know now, because I know better now, I would not have done, because I did it myself. I took on my husband's last name, and it was something like it was in fact, it was a day after the marriage that he made me go and do all the things I had to do to start changing all my names. And it was after the marriage, I got my master's degree. I got my last master's degree where I did very well and all that. And the certificate bears the name. And that's the name I have now. And I'm not really happy about it because now the marriage is not working out. And I think I want to represent my father, not my husband. So now it's becoming very difficult because of all the emotional stress I've passed through. It's like I want to put this man behind, but you cannot because you're carrying his surname wherever you go.
Okay. Now, Celia, before you come in, Jude, you seem to be in affirmation with what Chinelo is saying.
In the sense that she's touching so many issues. She's asked us some very good questions about life as it is at this moment. And I was nodding in confirmation because of all of that. One, she's talked about property, ownership. She's mentioned about representing her father. These are existential questions about ownership. I've always been about the view that when a woman goes in and takes the name, it's all about ownership. In England, that I know of from history, they did it because of inheritance. They wanted the wife to be part of the inheritance. So she and her children will not be disinherited. because the rich people, then the aristocracy, were marrying more than one woman. They were having mistresses outside. So it became a thing that whichever of this woman took the name of the aristocrat, they ended up inheriting some of the property. That's about ownership. So she's almost right there. And she talked about another thing about, I want to promote my father's name in my own language. Now, that's not how you put it. But my take with that is, in every of this situation, what Celia said and Chinelo said, the woman is always at the losing end. It's a win-win situation for the man.
All right, I'm going to stop you there, Jude, because I can see Celia already like, wow.
You know what? Let me just say, first of all, I just have to say, I'm glad we're not in the studio face to face. I probably would have I can still do that actually, just get up from this set and walk off. Let me tell you guys something, yeah? First of all, the reason why most marriages don't last, yeah? Because when the person is going into a marriage, they're already having a contingency plan, okay? When you go into the marriage without thinking, oh, I want to, whether you're answering your name or your father's name, you are still the daughter of your father. You are still the son of your father. You changing your name to your husband's name doesn't make you less of that. When you go into a marriage thinking, oh, I want to still bear my name because I don't want my master's degree to be in my husband's name. I don't want my this to be in my husband's name. If I buy a house, I don't want it to be in my husband's name. Don't forget, when you're in a marriage and you buy a house, you're probably buying it with yourself and your husband. And the fact that you're bearing your husband's name when you buy a house, it doesn't mean you have to put his name on the deeds of the house if you don't want to. Okay, so at the end of the day, let's not forget the fact that we're in Europe, we're in UK, and we've kind of adopted all these westernized custom, tradition. Don't forget, we're Nigerians, okay? We're coming back from home. And what you do when you get married, you take on your husband's name. Now, Chino, let me ask you one question. Sorry, Yori, hold on. If you married Obasanjo's son, would you take his name or not? Yeah? And now also, don't forget, yeah, people are watching this show. Okay, for me, you do what you want to do. But I'm an advocate for the woman taking on her husband's name because it shows that, yes, you're now a married woman.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yuri, wait one moment. Do you know, when you got married to your husband, you took his name. Your views were not these views, were they? When you got married to your husband, you took his name and you were happy with that. You're only unhappy with it now because the marriage didn't work out. Okay, so
I'm going to stop you there. No, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to go to Chinelo. And Chinelo, I want you to respond. Because in as much as people always say, oh, you're always sitting on the fence. Well, I do actually have an opinion about this, but I'm going to come back. So, Chinelo, I'm going to go to you. I want you to respond to Celia on what she's touched on.
Okay, Celia, first of all, there is no woman that goes into a marriage thinking that it would end in a divorce. So I want to clear that. Nobody thinks that. Mm-hmm. And when a marriage doesn't work out, a marriage takes two people to work. And you can never say what would end the marriage. Nobody can say. But when it ends, it ends.
Well, little things like this can.
So when it ends, it's always bitter. It's never sweet. And so when it ends, you're no longer counting on those good memories that you had while in the marriage. You're not looking to how do I remove myself from this situation and how do I put it behind me? If you have the man's surname, you're not putting the marriage behind you. It will always be there. Whenever somebody mentions your surname at work, amongst wherever you go to, it reminds you of the marriage and the bitterness that you have to carry. You understand what I'm saying? So that's to answer that. Then your second question was about being married to Obasanjo's son. I would ask you, how about being married to Obasanjo? If a man gets married to Obasanjo's daughter, what happens? Would the man
take on his name? She takes on his name.
Celia, hold on.
So that's so put it on the reverse, because you've asked me now that if I marry Obasanjo's son, so how about I am Obasanjo's daughter and the man coming to marry me, is he gonna take on my surname? Answer that. And that's where you are.
No, he takes on the husband's name. Period.
Yes,
he takes on her husband's name.
My name, my surname, which is very popular, then goes into oblivion. That's what you're saying.
It doesn't, because people already know who you are. Period.
No, you can't say that. Okay. Unless you say your name.
I'm going to stop you guys.
Makes a mark. Your name makes a very big mark wherever you go. So
I'm
if
gonna
you say, oh, that's you mention another surname and say, by the way, that's Obasanjo's daughter. By the time you get to that sentence, the person may not be listening.
Chinelo, as I said
Oh,
before.
no, hold on, Celia. No,
Oh,
I don't need you to
okay.
come in there. Chinelo, pass on that. Jude,
Okay.
you're a man, okay? And you're going to be like a subject matter expert on this, or the guinea pig. You have the opinion that it was too much paperwork that you didn't do it. Now, let's remove paperwork for 2 seconds. Say, for instance, it was a straightforward thing, and yeah, it's straightforward thing. Would you still have advocated for your wife to take on your last name, touching on the fact that Celia said when you go into a marriage, you expect it to last. Chinelo has her views, because obviously it's not been as how she's wanted to be, and it would have been better in her own case if she hadn't changed it, because it makes healing a lot easier, if I'm right. Yeah. So yeah, go on, Jude.
I think Chinelo is right in so many things she said. She's talking from life experiences. For me, paperwork or not, I only just put that there because that was the discussion we had at the time. Like I said, I'm going to address what Celia mentioned about we're in Europe and not in Nigeria. I left Nigeria when I was 25, so I know about families in Nigeria that men actually took the last name of the women they married to because of what Chinelo mentioned, the popularity of the women's names. I know of, I don't want to mention the families now because they'll watch this show and they will definitely know I'm pointing out to them. I know of very few. And this is a very, 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 very dicey issue. That's why I said at first, the woman is always at the lose end. But to address your question, whether it was paperwork or not, it was never a force for me because my take on marriage is absolutely different. I don't believe in, I don't know how to put it because it's not what we're discussing here. I only just believe I like this so much. She likes me. We decided we're going. That's it. My parents are not involved. Whatever we do, whether we take last names or not, is not part of it. But coming to names are very, very vital. I've always been, one of my last projects in school was about what's in the name. So that's why you see I always nod when Chinelo was making our points. Popular families with women, with popular families, the men have always taken the names of the wives. Our current queen is
I was just going to say that.
Our current queen is a clear example. She should be Queen Elizabeth Mountbatten, not Windsor. But because of they didn't want Mountbatten as a name because they were a family from Germany, and Mountbatten was a cousin of the queen, as well as the husband she was married. They were all related. And I think the politician at that time, what he was the prime minister, Churchill, he went against it. Prince Philip was like, hang on, this is not right. You should be taking my name. The pressure was too much, but Prince Philip actually does love that woman, Queen Elizabeth. He's still there, the Duke. He said, I don't care. It's all about love. I'll take your name. What they've come to, the conclusion was, okay, our male descendants who are not titled princes would then answer Windsor Mountbatten. But the Queen took the name. So for what Chinelo said, popularity, you see Stella, I don't know if Stella Obasanjo was ever married. She's still Stella Obasanjo. A lot of women have reverted back to their names because their names are very, very popular. I have a very close family. I don't want to mention the name. If my cousins watch this, they'll know I'm talking about them. All my auntie's children, all female. Their dad stepped out and got a male son because he wanted the name to continue. He would have lost on it because it's not to take his name.
Thank you for that, Jude. Celia, we're in United Kingdom, okay? And I know back in Nigeria, there are some women who have still kept their maiden names even after marriage. And it could be one, they're in prominent field and they felt, well, for continuity, so that there's no confusion on who I am. Exactly. I personally have my name hyphenated. And the reason I've done that is because I come from a prominent home. And there's so many to my culture. I'm from the Owo Kingdom. There's so much to my last name that it might sound a little bit selfish, it tends to open doors. So I've kept my maiden name as well. Chinelo, I'll come to you for 2 seconds, but let me go to Celia. Celia, are you saying that even if the last name is juicy, Chinelo would have kept it, to say?
First of all, I believe if Chinelo hadn't had the issues she had in her marriage, okay, not with all due respect, Chinelo, I don't think she would have had an issue with it, okay? Now, let me tell you something. Some people in the UK, when they get married, everybody still decides to stay with their own name because of benefit issues, okay? Because they know when they claim benefits as a single person, They get more money than when they claim as a joint, okay? Now
That's
also,
a touchy one. That's a touchy one.
It is.
That's
Let's be
a
honest.
touchy one.
No, it is. And also, when Chinelo was saying something about, oh, now when I bring out my certificate, it's got my last name on it. At the end of the day, if you've moved on with that relationship, count your losses. Get your certificate. Oh, it's got my ex-husband's name on it. That was a mistake I made. I'm never going to make that mistake again. So it's up to you going into the next marriage. Do I want to take that person's surname? What if you meet someone that you really, really love and the man said, okay, actually, I would like you've been married before. And what if you meet someone that's never been married before, someone that wants his wife to take on his surname? Then what are you going to do?
Okay, look. Go into that. I want you to link in because I know you wanted to reply. Celia, she's just asked you a question. What's your take on that?
Well, Celia, I would still maintain that nobody goes into a marriage thinking it would end. So if you can remove that from your mind to say, okay, if things had not happened, we all learn from experiences. And we're saying going forward, we're trying to advise other people. Yeah, we're trying to make other people understand that at the end of the day, is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to take on your husband's surname? Have you counted your losses and your gains first to know which one that you would not mind, maybe you wouldn't mind? And another thing is that if you're talking about me having that name, like I said to you before, as soon as at work, as soon as they mention my husband's name, it reminds me of him. Doesn't it? It reminds you of that family. Sometimes it can pull you back from what you're doing. It reminds you of what you're going through. So forget about whether if the marriage had worked out. If it had worked out, then there won't be any need for this discussion, right? But the thing is, you have to know that most marriages these days, if you want to be realistic, most marriages end in divorce. Even most men don't even want to.
Wow.
Yeah, most marriages, you can go and look at the statistics. Most men now don't
maybe it's because of reasons like this, because when they go into a marriage, they go in with one leg because they're already thinking of the contingency plan. And you do realize,
I disagree completely with you. People go into marriage.
They do, because they're thinking of, okay, I don't want to change my name because if it doesn't work, then what? Don't forget, you can change your name, right? You can change your name. So why don't you do that so that you go back to your maiden name and you don't have to bear his name anymore? What about your children? What about your children? What are they answering?
Okay, both of you, hold on, Celia.
What are they answering?
Celia, hold on. Let her finish.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that people bear their husband's surname because of unity. That's the way the world perceives it. That if you're not bearing that surname, there won't be that unity. That unity we call a family, where everybody bears the same name. And like I said, I'll point you back to what I said earlier about, why don't two people adopt a neutral name and then you just bear the neutral name? Why don't you do that?
I think I've lost Jude. So I'm gonna wrap it up with you ladies. I don't know what happened to Jude. So I'm gonna wrap it up with you ladies. So now just to reinforce what we've been discussing, and there's an argument for and against, and I don't want you, Chinelo or Celia, to feel attacked. You are valid in your point. You want to keep your husband's name, and you are valid in your point as to want to revert back to your maiden name. I've seen people done it. So our advice to people, especially ladies going into marriage, no one goes into marriage hoping that you lose your personnel, you lose the marriage, or things don't work out. People need to do what works for them. This is a conversation you probably would have right at the beginning. Or not when you're talking about marriage, when you're actually dating the person. If your views are, I want to keep my last name. Do you understand? So rather than, because I know to make travel a lot easier, most wives or partners or women have had to take on their husband's last name. Because especially when you're traveling abroad and you have a different last name and your child has a different last name and the immigration officer is going, have you got permission to take this child out of the country? So I think that's why some people do it. And you touched on something, Celia, that people do it want to remain single or want to keep onto their maiden name for benefit reasons.
They do. People do it. Chinelo, let me just ask you, because you didn't answer this question. You said when they call your name at work, it reminds you of your husband. But your children's surname is your husband's surname, isn't it? Or do they have your surname?
No, but that's their father's surname. I'm not
Exactly. So you have a very big reminder of your husband in front of you. That's your children. So you need to try and forget about, you know, the hurt from that relationship for you to be able to move on, and just know that even when you hear his surname, it doesn't mean anything to you. That's how I see it. You understand? Because I don't, as you said, in Yuri, this is a conversation you have with your partner before you get married, and then you decide what you want to do. You understand? Because I don't want to sit here and start encouraging women, girls out there, and say, no, I beg, don't take on your husband's surname, because that could really piss some men off and they wouldn't want to get married. Okay, people can say, was that even the right relationship in the first place? If that's enough to piss the man off for him to say not to get married. But all I'm saying is people need to know what works for them and follow it through. You cannot just say to people, because that marriage might end in divorce in 5 years' time, so therefore prepare for that now and not take their name now, and not take your husband's name now. You can't say that. So people need to, you made the decision, and now you're living with the consequences of that decision. And that decision you made was to take his name when you got married. I'm still in my marriage. If my marriage doesn't work out 5 years from now, count my losses, change all, that's me. I change all my certificates, my passport, everything, and start afresh. Until you do that, you probably won't be able to start afresh. So as I said,
I'm going to let Chinelo answer that, and then we'll round these up, because I can see this is very heated.
Yeah, I was going to ask Celia, because I don't really understand what do you think is the reason why people go into marriage? Because you've said so many things that I did.
No, hold on.
One, you're saying something about okay, being in love is one of the reasons, but you're saying something about popularity as well, and you're saying something about collecting benefits and all that. So why do you really think that people go into marriage?
Oh no, you're getting me wrong. I'm saying the reason why people are not merging their names, the woman is not taking on the husband's name when they get married, is because number one, if they were already claiming benefits when they were single, they want to continue claiming that benefits as single, because now when they then tell the benefits of it that they're married, then that becomes a double application. It becomes a spousal application.
The marriage is not a lie because you want to collect benefits.
No, Chinelo, you're not. No, that's not why. I'm not saying that's why people go into a marriage. You're obviously going into a marriage because you love your partner. That's
okay. You don't have to get the surname to show love. You don't have to get your husband's surname to show that you love him. I'm not saying to marry. I'm saying that when you marry, you can retain your name. Just, for the future. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you
you've had that experience. That's why you're saying it now. You've had that experience. People might go into marriage and not have your experience. Then what? They should carry on with their own maiden name.
People's experiences. You can learn from other people's experiences.
Can I just stop? Can I stop both of you? Hold on.
To learn from. Look at Linda Ikeji. Sorry, Yuri. Linda Ikeji told women not to have children until they get married. But when she saw that her time was ticking, she went and got herself pregnant, had her baby in her hands, and yet now telling people don't learn from my mistake. Well, you already have a baby. What about the single woman there that is 40, 50 and cannot get pregnant? That doesn't have a marriage.
Their minds all the time. People change their minds all the time.
All right, both of you, I'm gonna go to Jude because I need you to just finish this off. Jude, sorry, we lost you for 2 seconds there. I think that the ladies just got amped up about one keeping their name or not. But I'm gonna go to you before we're finished. Your arguments, or I wouldn't say argument actually, because it's a lived experience for the four of us. You are happy in how things have turned out for your family. And I take it when you travel, it's not a problem, because obviously the missus got a different last name. Your kids have got your last name. So if she travels with the children, is there a problem?
Oh, there's not, because we kind of live in a society these days where they know people bear names. You can change the names to whatever you want it to look like. There's no problem as per traveling. But names are very powerful things. So we must not lose focus of what we're trying to discuss here. Names are very powerful, and it should be left to the woman to decide what name she wants to bear. But she needs to discuss this with whoever her partner is, whether it's with another woman or with another man. Because it is a lose-lose situation for them. If the woman says, I want to promote my father's name, she's still bearing a man's name. If she wants to go with her husband, she's still bearing a man's name. But I'm names are very powerful. The women should be the ones deciding this. If that will make the marriage not go on, so be it. Because what's in the name? It is very powerful. Like my name, my family, my grandfather was a king. I never knew him. My surname is Ukato. we're the only ones who bear that name worldwide, except some few Japanese people I found out recently. Maybe they're my cousins, I don't know. But to know who I was from this big family, I had to find out what my father's name was, and it's Emmanuel. So I then hyphenated my name. That's why I have Emmanuel Okato, so they easily identify who I am. It is an identifiable thing. So the woman needs to be identified. She cannot be swallowed up, marriage or not. That's my opinion.
All right, I'm going to, no, hold on, just because I think we've kind of overbeaten this topic, so I'm just going to round up. So guys, I really appreciate you, because all of you have come in and have given valid reasons as to why you've chosen the pathway that you've chosen. But for women out there, do what is right for relationship, not just the woman. This is a conversation I would suggest you have earlier on in the relationship before you eat and getting married, because as you will see, Celia and Chinelo's blood were boiling over this decision. So I'm not going to go back to both of them. I'm just going to round it up. I, for one, says if the surname is, you're able to hyphenate it, hyphenate. If you want to keep your husband's last name, keep it. If you want to keep your maiden name, keep it. But make sure that this is a conversation that you have before you walk down the aisles. And for women that have kept their last name, we're not against you. And for women that have chosen their husband's last name, and for husbands that have chosen their wife's last name, kudos to you. So until next week, thank you to Jude and Chinelo. And obviously to everyone, when this premieres on Saturday, the four of us are going to be in that chat room talking. So you can vibe your questions with Celia, with Jude, with Chinelo around the decisions that they've made in their relationship as to keeping their last name, not keeping their last name, hyphenated where possible. So thank you so much for watching. It's a pleasure. And to guys, it was indeed cold black in London today. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.